the pressure off him slightly then as he takes all 3 points from Inter. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we? A former Inter man, Jurgen Klinsmann, joins us, as does Aage Fjortoft. All right, let's not mess around, Jurgen. Penalty or not?
Well, you can give it, but very, very soft. Obviously, very, very soft penalty. I wouldn't have given it, but yeah, he pulled him just for a split second, and that was enough then. But very soft decision.
Aage Fjortoft?
Well, I will say you can give a penalty for stupidity from Bastoni. Yes, very soft, but he gave VAR and ref a chance to give it.
Oh my God, you've gone to two guys that would throw themselves to the ground for $10.
There is no diver here.
$10 is generous.
All right, I can maybe give you a pass, Jan, but there's no way Jurgen's getting a pass.
But there is no rule saying that he just did a free kick for 2 seconds, 1 second, a split second.
Let's talk about
you can't throw yourself after the shirt is released and it's still in that act. Anyway, that's the way that they managed to get the 3 points and the win, which is the bigger story.
Yeah.
In the sense of the week or in the season that Arne Slot has had, or more importantly in the 4 or 5 days that Arne Slot has had, even if it's that long, regarding the Mo Salah mess and how the club and himself have dealt with it thus far. Mo Salah didn't travel. I think that's a crystal clear sign about, you know, what way this is going to go. And I think also the fact that they've gone to Inter Milan, who didn't pose the greatest of threat going forward, it has to be said. So that would aid and abet the fact that Liverpool kept a clean sheet, which they've been horrendous at this season. So that's a huge bonus. They were a lot more solid. They had Ekitike on the left, they had Szoboszlai on the right, but playing a little bit of a hybrid. They had Alexander Isak through the middle. They had an extra midfielder in there, so they had a little bit more solidity about them. Andy Robertson played, Joe Gomez played, so a little bit more defensive strength. And it was another sign to say to a guy in Mo Salah, who I think most of us have thought did not choose his words particularly well, when he basically said, this club owes me everything, this club owes me a favour, I have achieved everything here. What were the words that he said? I have nothing to prove. I have earned my place. I have earned my place at this club by what I have done in the past. And I think most people have jumped in that, rightly so, and said, well, no, your place in the team is judged on recent performances, as Stevie said yesterday. And those were the words that sort of got up a lot of people's nose, the entitlement of, how dare you question my place in the side? How dare Arne Slot drop me? And the one way to sort of put it to bed a little bit, certainly for a few hours, is to go to the San Siro, is to go and play Inter, is to keep a clean sheet, is to win the game and say, do you know what? You might not be on board with what we're doing. You might not be on board with the manager. You might be whinging about decisions being made. But we've got some other players here at this football club that are willing to roll their sleeves up and go and do the job. And Liverpool did that tonight.
Inevitably, this is where the conversation was always going to go, Jurgen. If you were Arne Slot, how would you have dealt with Mo Salah over the last 48 hours?
Well, this is always the biggest kind of not problem, but the challenge for managers. You know, when you have players that are not content, when you have players that are mad and suddenly face a different reality of their situation. And obviously what Mo Salah did for Liverpool is unbelievable, is fantastic. I mean, he's been such a big figure, and he will be forever legend at Anfield Road. But kind of, you know, time moves on, and they made some decisions in the transfer window this summer, bringing in, you know, players, young players, for more than, I don't know how many 100 millions, and you got to make somehow a space for them, and you gotta figure it out as a manager now. You know, who's in front of who do I have to bench here and there, and then it depends on how the players react. So you have all these big names and big expectations, and then the things didn't start well for Liverpool, and that's why I think, you know, today we saw a Liverpool team that was very well organized defensively, but didn't create much besides maybe the chance from Bradley there in the second half going forward. But you could also sense it, you know, watching the game, that not even Inter knew how to take this Liverpool side today. You know, Inter should have created more, should have done more, put them more under pressure and go for 3 points. solution instead of waiting until maybe something happens, and that's when something happens at the very end, if it was penalty or not. But the end result is a 1-0 win for Liverpool, and it's huge. It helps obviously Arne Slot in that critical moment. Obviously, they have to sit down, they have to talk with Mo Salah, they have to go through that, and everybody, the world is watching, world of football at least is watching the situation. But for managers, really, this is very, very tricky. If you have a roster that is overloaded, especially in certain positions, where they double the positions, and you have high quality, extreme quality, and then you have to figure out a way to tell your players you're going to sit on the bench. Now, obviously, it's more difficult to tell an older player. I call them always more experienced players, because I don't like the word old, because you are only good or bad. There's no old or young. But in his case, obviously he's 33, and the players that they brought in are far younger, like Florian Wirtz, for example, and so they are the future of the club. And now he needs to realize that he has to fight his spot with these youngsters coming in for obviously a lot of money, and now these conversations have to happen and make things clear. But it's not easy for Mo Salah at all, emotionally, absolutely not. But for the manager, he has the job to make this kind of decision, tell more experienced players in this case, your time is going towards an end. And this is really a difficult one, because you carry that with you as a manager forever, because you are the one that told an older player, it's time to go. It's time to kind of move on. I'm going to bring in now some youngsters. I tried with the next wave of players. And obviously you can see that Liverpool is in a kind of a transition. Something that maybe Inter Milan is now going sooner or later into, because that is a team that is too old. You could see it today. Acerbi was going out then. Çalhanoğlu was leaving the ground. And it's a very old Inter side that now needs to figure out a way to bring in younger players and refresh their rosters. So they will maybe be in the same situation as Liverpool next year or in 2 years from now. But again, this is work for a manager that is not easy.
Jurgen, what would it take for Salah to play for you again after saying what he did? Would you expect an apology from him?
I think an apology would help the case, because he put himself a bit too much in front of everything. But I think it needed a cup of coffee, between the manager and the player, and then obviously an open talk from the player to his teammates, and then prove your point in training, just show everybody that you are right there, that you want to fight for your spot. He's obviously one of the best players, ever in Liverpool history, and he's still good. He can still easily play another 4 or 5 years. Messi is 38 and Ronaldo is 40. Why can't he play until 38 or 40? Now he's going obviously to the Africa Cup of Nations, and then we will see him with Egypt in the next summer's World Cup. So he has so much still to do and to play for. But it wouldn't hurt for him for sure if the team is coming back tomorrow and then they have a quick training session and maybe just to mention a couple of words in the dressing room.
So he apologises to Arne Slot. He goes back in the side, plays badly for the next 4 or 5. Once he comes back from the African Cup of Nations, that is. His form continues in the same manner in which it has been for this season, which has been poor. For whatever he's done in the past, that's gone now. Great numbers, unbelievable numbers, which is one of the reasons that Liverpool had to give him the big salary. They were under somewhat a lot of pressure with Van Dijk and Salah to give him a new contract, because they couldn't be seen to be letting go superstars who were winning the Premier League. But there was always the worry that these players at their age were going to fall off a cliff at some point. Those numbers were going to drop. And in some sense, I think this has fallen into Liverpool's lap in terms of they could offer him to Saudi Arabia in January or whenever it is, and they're not going to look like the bad guys. But if he comes back in the team with an apology and plays badly, and Arne Slot has to leave him out again, where do we go? Right. Where do we go? Because he's already basically said, Mo Salah that is, that you're dropping me, the superstar. You can't. He's basically saying you can't do that. That was paraphrasing what he said in his words. I have earned my place That's saying that and saying I have earned my place. He's saying what I've done for this club, in his eyes, and then Stevie said yesterday, what this club and these players have done for him. It works both ways. But what I have done for this club means this manager should not have the right to leave me out. I think that's the part of it that just got me sitting back going, wow, that's super arrogant. But, you know, and the other thing is from tonight, this was such a big game for Arne Slot tonight, because had Inter Milan taken this Liverpool team apart, and we've seen it this season, by 3 or 4 goals, I'll guarantee you every man and his dog would have been saying, maybe Mo Salah's got something. This guy's lost the dressing room. It would have been a lost the dressing room conversation. So this was a huge night for Arne Slot.
Jan, it must be so refreshing to see a Norwegian journalist get a decent interview.
Yeah, my colleague was just standing there. It was unbelievable. I spoke to him straight after. I was in the studio and we got a message. Hey, he has been filming it as well. We got it. But it's an amazing story. And I think now, 48 hours afterwards, we can also reflect on what's happened in a bigger perspective, because I think the king is dead, long live the king. I mean, this is a club that took Bill Shankly left, Bob Paisley in, Sir Kenny in for Kevin Keegan. It moves always on. And I'm with Craig. I mean, I can't believe that his best argument was that I have earned my place. That means that Sir Kenny Dalglish can figure out tomorrow that he wants to play against Brighton on Saturday, and he can play. I mean, I think that's the worst argument ever. It's all about today for sports people. We know that we get our legs, we get tired at some point of a career, but you have to produce. I mean, nobody can look at the performances of Liverpool Football Club this season. Nobody can look at the performance of Mohamed Salah this season and can say that he should be a fixed starter in every game. And you saw it tonight as well. This was the same thing that they did against West Ham. This was a professional way. They came there, disciplined, conceding no goals, winning a football game. And the other argument, if I may say at the end, is that of course, Mohamed Salah has the freedom of speech. He can be as irritated. He can be as annoyed as anyone. But there's been coming out reports, of course, that a striker like he, one of the 2-3 superstars of the Premier League, is not happy to sit on a bench because it goes off his proudness. But then you go in the dressing room, go to the manager, go to the owners, do whatever you want. But you can't do that. I mean, we're all selfish. We all got our kind of proudness, but you can't do that. Sorry, mate. Although we love you as a football player, you can't do that.